Well, welcome you folks. We're grateful to have you with us again. We've just had, this is the Utah Valley Technology and Genealogy Group meeting, our regular second Saturday of the month meeting. We've just had a wonderful presentation by Peggy Clemens Lauritzen on historical markers and historical places, not just here in the US, but around the world. That's been recorded. That's a video which will be available to watch on our Facebook page for 2 or 3 months, but then it'll be on our YouTube channel page that you can watch after that. And those are, you don't have to be a member of our group to watch those. We're now going to have her give us a class. She's going to be talking about memory keepers. Now, Peggy is a qualified genealogist. She's been a genealogist for many, well, I guess all her life, but she's an AG, which is accredited genealogist. She's a fellow of the Genealogical Society of Ohio. She and her husband live in Mansfield, Ohio, and they are the directors there of the Family Search Center in Mansfield. She's a prominent speaker, speaks at all of the conferences, Roots Tech and all the SLIG, all the different conferences as she travels around the country and giving talks and so on. We were just delighted that she would take time to present to us this Saturday morning. Did I mention that this is the 9th of September of 2023? We'll now turn the time over to her for the class period on memory keepers. And so, Peggy, we'll turn the time over to you now.
All righty. Well, hang on just for a second here. Make sure I've got it all good and ready to go here. Well, I am happy to be with you, and this has become one of my favorite presentations, and it came about by accident. So you're going to get one of my accidental presentations that a lot of people asked for, both in the LDS Church and outside the LDS Church, because it involves using part of FamilySearch, a very important part of FamilySearch. Now, there are things that change on the FamilySearch site all the time, but this will give you the basics as to how to do what I have been teaching others to do. And that is to save and preserve the things that are precious to us and also irreplaceable. Now, perhaps your phone looks like my phone, where you just have lots of pictures, or maybe pictures that you have taken pictures of, and they're all in there. Or maybe I visited a relative's home and they have a lot of pictures and I took pictures of the pictures and they're all in my phone. Or perhaps I have pictures that from a long time ago that I have developed and they're in a drawer, or they're anywhere but where they should be. Or perhaps you have lots of funeral cards. My aunt in Kentucky, I went down there to visit a few years ago, and she gave me a huge box of, I didn't know what they were. She goes, honey, I know you like that genealogy stuff. I'm just going to give these to you because we collect them everywhere we go. They were obituaries and funeral cards of people I have never heard of, but she was trying to do me a favor. So I said thank you and brought home 575 obituaries and funeral cards. Now, I want you to think about something. I want you to think about what could happen if you lost your home, or if you've had floods, or if you have documents and special things and also hungry insects and rodents, or if someone has died and they've left things to certain parts of the family and they're not going to share. No, I'm not sharing. Dad left that to me and Dad liked me best. All of these things can lead to the loss of what we have just wanted so badly to be able to pass on to the next generation. Sometimes they're interested, sometimes they're not. But we have seen the amount of destruction within the past 2 weeks of the fires and of the floods, of hungry rodents and insects that have gotten into courthouses or gotten into, I think that, I don't know if it's little bugs or ants, they must like the glue that is on some of these things that I have. because I'll go in and some of them will look like that. And I have also come across many, many families that they are just not going to share their information or their pictures. They're not sharing it. As a matter of fact, the person I talked to this morning absolutely will not share with their family members. No, it's theirs. That mom and dad wanted me to have it, I'm keeping it. So sometimes that's what we have to contend with. Where I live, I can remember a couple of years ago when this big swath of tornadoes just went right up through Maysville, Kentucky, and went right on up. It was a night of tornadoes that went on for 250 miles. I know that anything like that can happen that would blow our precious things that we have clear into the next county. I am scared to death of tornadoes. I am scared beyond measure of them. And just about a month ago, we had the warning, get to your basement now. And my husband and I flew down there, took our stuff that we want to make sure we keep, and I grabbed some chocolate. We went to the basement. Last year in June, we had a tornado that basically started at the end of our driveway and wreaked havoc for several miles going on down into Amish country. The only thing we lost was a tree. That was a lot less than a lot of other people had lost. So what I want to do is make it so that my family is not fighting after I'm gone. And also recognize the fact that after somebody has died, sometimes you're not thinking straight. So what I've done for my husband and I to make it easy on my family is I went to a garage sale and I wanted to find the ugliest bag that I could find. I have lots of rolling suitcases, but I wanted this one to stand out. This bag was the dirtiest thing. I took it to the car wash and I hosed it inside and out and scrubbed it and then put like fabric softener sheets in there and left it to air dry. This is the ugliest bag, but it stands out because inside of that, my husband and I have written up our funeral program and our obituary. Our clothing that we will need to be buried in is in there, plus people to call, and where important documents are found, like in a drawer or on my computer or on FamilySearch, and where to get copies of them. For my husband, I have also made it a lot easier for him in regard to passwords and how to roast a chicken. I have put together a book called When Peggy Wakes Up Dead. And then that way, if he doesn't quite if he doesn't remember how to do something on a computer or something about the Ring doorbell or something like that, just look in there and it'll be just like I'm with you. I just want to make it easier. Now, to go into FamilySearch, I'm going to talk about the memories section very, very much today. That's where we're going to be. And some of the things that I have done that I've added to it. I'm also going to show you Dropbox. This is where I keep my things. Dropbox is in the cloud. So if my computer got destroyed or stolen or burned up or dropped or milk spilled out, well, whatever could happen to it, my things are not lost because I have had those things happen where a computer, right before I was getting ready to speak the next day in Burbank, California, my computer died. So on a trip, I have to buy another computer. And because of Dropbox being stored in the cloud, I was able to restore everything, and be able to give that presentation the next day. My goodness, I was so grateful for Dropbox. So on Dropbox, you see on mine that I have lots and lots of different categories for these. These are all folders, and it would be no different if I had folders that were in a file cabinet. If I wanted to find something, I just go to the folder and then open it up. So let's look at one of the folders on my Clemens family. And you'll see that I have letters and I have a death record and I have pictures. And you'll see all of those that are in there so that if I wanted to find something, I could quickly go to the Clemens file and upload it. Now, what I'm in the process of doing right now, all through Dropbox, I like them this way because if I just look at the top left, if that's for Ambrose Clemens, I have put in there that that is a letter, page 3, from Ambrose Clemens. If I started with the word Ambrose, I'd have a whole bunch of stuff to look through. But I have his birth year, his death year, and a 1936 letter, page 3. I could find that practically in my sleep because it's in the Clemens file and it begins with Ambrose. So as you look through all of those, I am recording them by their last name, that they appear in that record. I put their birth year, I put their death year, and I put, if it's a marriage, I put it's an obituary. I don't put a whole lot of information because that's in another program. I'm just putting a snippet of what this is. So if I wanted to do this for my dad, I would put Clemens, Chester L., born 1912, died 2002. This is his 1944 Navy discharge. For my mom, it would be Clemens Ida Stevens. She did not have a middle name, but that's her maiden name. She was born in 1913 and died 1984. Those are 1978 journal notes from her wedding. For me, I would just put my name. I put my last name I have now, and Peggy Clemens, born 1955, and I'm not dead yet, but there's days I feel like I am. And then a 1977 wedding photo. So that's how I could quickly find any of those things. I have no trouble at all with that. So what I'm going to show you is just looking at my family. My dad came from a big family, and he is Chester Lee, right there. He's number 5 of that family. And I need to make sure that all of my aunts and uncles, the things that I have for them, are uploaded into the memories section of FamilySearch. And you can find that up at the top of FamilySearch on the homepage. Or if you look down here, when I hover over her name, Irene, you can see that memories also is included right there. So when I go to her memories page, I go to her and there she is. And what I have done is make sure that she has her documents and that she has photos concerning her that are uploaded. You can see right there that she has a red exclamation point. That's because I have not titled that particular picture yet. It is now, but at the time it wasn't. So that will stay red until I give it a title. So I have another picture that I need to upload. So I simply go up here to where it says upload photo, and I choose that it's going to come from Dropbox under the Klein genealogy. And there is her tombstone. It's a double tombstone. And I click on that and open it so that it will be loaded also to that page. Now it takes some time, usually 24 hours to process, although I uploaded one this morning and it took about 10 minutes. But again, you see it while I'm waiting on that it doesn't have a title, and neither does she. So I need to make sure that both of them do have that. And then eventually that will be fine, and it's uploaded, and on we go. Now, the other thing that I want to do is that it does list both of their names here. And when I hover my mouse over that, then over here on the right, their names will pop up. And if I want to make sure that that is included, I've only included this on Aunt Irene. But if I hover over Leo, then I can include it right there and it will show up on his page too. Let me give you a better example. These are all of my dad's living brothers and sisters. 2 of them died as infants. And so I recently came across this from a cousin that I had seen this picture before, but didn't know where I saw it. I believe that they are gathered for their father's funeral because this looks like wintertime and he died in January, and they're all kind of dressed up, which most of these people, they're from Kentucky. I didn't see any of them dressed up usually. So unless they were going to church or going to a funeral. So I'm assuming that this could be their funeral. So when I upload this to, I can't remember if I uploaded it to Irene's or my dad's or whatever. I uploaded it and again began to hover over each one of their faces and then identified who it was. If it was correct, then I clicked on that. So if I go to any of these brothers and sisters, then it's also included on their page. That is so much easier than uploading it 9 times and then uploading it to each of their pages, because this way I can tag it and it will show up on all of their pages with just one upload. I did the same thing with is this my dad? Yeah, this is my dad's death certificate. I cannot believe that I did not have my own parents' death certificates. And during the pandemic, that's what I went around and did to any of the offices that were open in Ohio. You don't have to pay for a certified copy. You can go in with your camera and take a picture of it. And then they just destroy the copy that they made for you. So on this particular death certificate, I have all kinds of information that was given by my sister Fern. And what I did is I tagged my dad, but his dad is also mentioned. And so is his mom. And so is my sister. Now, it's not about them, but it does mention them. And so I've included all of those tags so it appears on their pages as well. So again, to do that, I uploaded a document and it said, where do you want to get it from? Well, Dropbox. And I went to Clemens Chester and his death certificate, clicked on that, and then opened it. And it took it right there with the rest of all of his documents then. When I looked at that, I tagged each one of my grandparents and then my sister, because they were all mentioned in there. Now I'm going to show you one of those funeral cards that my aunt gave to me, which is probably similar to what I have seen with Utah funeral programs and funeral cards. They are some of the best I have ever seen. They don't do them like that everywhere. But this particular person named Kenny Abrams, it gives a picture of him on the front, but the inside, I mean, look at this. It gives the survivors of his son and daughter-in-law, and his daughter and son-in-law, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, all of it. I mean, I could sit there with a pedigree chart or a family group sheet and just fill it all out. These are some of the best I've ever seen. And then on the, excuse me, on the back, it's a list of where the cemetery is, how to get to it, and all the pallbearers. I am so glad that they are doing things like this. And when I was in Utah in November, the same type of thing was done for one of our family members that had passed as well. I'm just trying to make it as easy as I can for those coming after me. But then the topic often comes up, well, Peggy, I've got all of these scrapbooks. You know, when creative memories was a big thing and people were making these scrapbooks, what do I do? Do I take those apart and add those pictures? Well, I don't think you have to. What I did is I just took my camera and I got right down on each one of those pictures and I took a picture of the picture. And they're good. Some of them are better than the picture. And I just simply uploaded them to FamilySearch, and then I tagged the people that were in them. I've also done the same type of thing where I took a picture of the entire scrapbook page and then just left it like that and tagged people as I uploaded it. I didn't do just each individual picture. I've done both. Some of you may have gotten an email that some of your files were missing in memories. I had 7 that were missing. That just some kind of a glitch happened in the past couple of weeks. And they said, please, check your memories and there's a way to restore them. So I looked at that memories restoration tool and I saw, well, okay, there's 7. Every single one of these I had stored in Dropbox and could just restore them right there and get them back up to the memories page. And I don't know what happened. I'm sure that whatever it was, I'm sure they fixed it now. So, and I'm glad for that. By doing this type of a thing, then I can share this with people all over the world that when they want to know, Peggy, do you have this? Or would you happen to have a picture of this? Yep, it's on FamilySearch. If you go on there, you can look right at it. That way, it's not just here with all of my stuff. It's for the world to see. Now, in doing this, you can also upload. I mean, this is how you would upload it from not just an individual's page, but from the memories page. You can see up here in this red outline box, I have uploaded 1,523 memories. Now, some of them are pictures and some of them are stories, some of them, a lot of things like that. And then I have developed albums so that I can make sure that they are also included in the albums. So I can just add pictures straight from here, and just add them to the album over here. And then also you can see where I haven't added titles to those yet. So I'm never done. When people tell me their genealogy has all been done, I just kind of look at them and I just kind of bless their heart. Oh, bless your heart. I'm glad to hear that. You can also do it from Instagram and Facebook and Google Photos, the same type of thing where you can add that. I love it on my Android phone under the Family Search app. I don't know exactly how it works with iPhones, but this is how it is on an Android, where I can look at the pedigree chart. And when I'm traveling, I can also go to memories. You find that on the Android, clicking on the hamburger up here. And then all this will be brought up and you can add memories to whatever it is that you're looking at. So here I can add photos right here, but not just that. I can add a document. I can write a story. I can record an audio, or I can add a photo while I'm on the go. I wish that this had been available when my parents were alive. I would give anything to be able to hear their voices again. I would give anything to be able to hear my son's voice again. So what I'm going to do is make sure that I record my voice so that people will know the things that were special to me or the things that made me upset or angry. How I'm making it in a very upside down world right now. So let me tell you something about this woman. There's Peggy up there. This woman here is my mother's mother. Let me give you a picture of her. She was a Kentucky Hill woman, and she had also 11 children, just like my dad's parents had. And every year in October, we would drive to Kentucky and bring her back to Ohio. My mom did not want her staying down there alone because she was afraid when she went out to get coal for the pot-bellied stove that she would trip on the ice or slip and nobody would find her. So she stayed with us from October, usually till about March, because that's planting time. And her garden was like a Jack and the Beanstalk garden. When she came, I let her have my bedroom on the first floor. I slept upstairs where you could scrape frost off the windows. My grandmother had one tooth. She had long gray hair that she kept in a bun at the nape of her neck. Her bow legs were very arthritic and she moved slowly. And she chewed tobacco and had a green bean can by the fireplace where she sat every day at our house. So one day I had taken a bath and I'd washed my hair, which was down to my hips. And I came out, I'd put on my flannel nightgown and I was standing by the fireplace and I was just talking away. I could talk all day and not say anything. And I'm drying my hair and everything. And my grandmother flew out of that chair and she grabbed the broom and she knocked me down and started beating me with it. And I'm on the floor and I'm thinking, what in the world did I say this time? I was 13. It could have been anything. But what I didn't know is that she saw that I was ready to ignite because I had long hair and a flannel nightgown. She saved my life. And so what I have done is I wrote that up in a story. I have 3 sisters. She was their grandmother too, but they don't have that story. This is my story with my grandmother. So we can't sit back and say, yeah, I have a sister-in-law and she's done all the research in the family. Okay, those are researches and perspectives and stories from, and write-ups maybe from her point of view, but perhaps you have a different one. In this story, you can see with Create the Stories and everything, where I have a lot of stories where it might be about her, but she also just might be mentioned in it, like on my mom's wedding day up here in the top second one, or the quilts that she and my mom used to sit around and piece together, the quilt tops, while I was living with them. Well, with that story, I wrote that up. And wouldn't you know, this past spring, I was cleaning in my basement and I shouted to my husband, you are not going to believe what I found. I found that broom that she knocked me down and beat the daylights out of me with. it's a treasure. What can I say? Now, because she is mentioned, of course, this is about her. So this story would show up on her page and on my dad and my mom's, because we went every year to Kentucky and I mentioned them in there. And of course on my page, so she is mentioned, and it's also in the Stevens, and I have an album all to myself, as do my sisters and my parents. And her maiden name was Gerhardt. So it's in the Gerhardt and the Stevens, because her married name was Stevens. So that story appears in all of those. I began to think, what am I missing? Because we have stories and we have photos, but what are we missing? And then I began to have some extended family that began to pass away. So I uploaded my brother-in-law's Air Force discharge, because I have it. I actually have it. But both of his sons like to see it. And he also had 3 children by a previous marriage. Well, they can't all have it, but you know what? They all do, because it's up on FamilySearch now. I have mementos that are special to us, like when I was made an accredited genealogist, or was made a fellow, or worked in Boy Scouts, or when we served missions, we were in the Hill Cumorah pageant and everything. So those are special. And if our house caught fire or was destroyed in any manner, those would go with it. So I've taken pictures of these and uploaded them to the memory section. I have uploaded pins that one of my aunts wore. She always wore them in the wrong place, and they flopped around all over the front of her, but I'll never forget it. The cameo that my grandmother gave me when I was, I don't know, just a young girl, like a teenager, when my husband and I were each top pilots in primary, the piano awards that my children, all 4 of them, received, the pocket knife and the watch that my dad had on the day that he died, he always carried those. I have uploaded these pictures to all of the ones that they are special to. My dad was in the Navy. I have uploaded his pictures and his World War II draft card, or his draft card. But I also have his hat, and I have all of his military papers. I have his shoebox in my front hall. I have his uniforms. I look at those uniforms. I don't even have a grandchild that will fit in those. But the pictures of all of these are up on FamilySearch, and they mention him. And, it mentions, like in the World War II draft thing, it mentions my mom there as the next of kin. So though people may not actually have these items, they can see them because I've shared them with the world. In my family, my husband and I, we always seem to end up with everybody's scriptures. We are the repository for scriptures. And I also collect signatures. So my husband in his office has all of these scriptures lined up and who they belong to. And, there's just something about touching something that was special to somebody else. All of their pictures of their scriptures and maybe one page of where they took notes or had information written is also up on their page with appropriate people tagged in it. Now, when my mother lived with us, or my grandmother, then my mom and my grandmother would sit by the fire. They would embroider and they would make quilt tops, all that kind of stuff. And about a year and a half after my mom died, all of my dad's house burned to the ground when lightning struck it. But I did have a lot of those pieces embroidery work. So I have taken close-up pictures of the embroidery work and the quilting. And I have uploaded that is machine quilted there, but the pieces that you see of the different colors, those were pieced by my mom and my grandmother, so that people can see. I have the entire doily taken a picture of, but I also have the close-ups of the little stitches that they took, because then that way, again, you're seeing piecework that was done that may not always be around. It may crumble or rot or whatever, but it's preserved the best way that I know how to preserve it. Now, I know that in many families, there is a tradition that you do not share your recipes. And I'm going to tell you right now, that tradition dies with me. It dies with me. I want my posterity to know how my mother made biscuits and how my dad made mincemeat cookies and macaroni dinners. I've got 3 boxes of recipes, and I'm still in the process of digitizing and uploading those, and they get to see their handwriting that way too. I will not hover over those recipes that I grew up on and that my parents grew up on, and the little bits of information on, if you can't use this, then use this. If my mom didn't have eggs or if she didn't have oil, she just put a big blob of mayonnaise in a cake, just things like that. Now, because other people have also uploaded photos, I am able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 generations going back from these grandboys of ours all the way back to the original people who came over from Denmark, the Lauritzens. Now, I want to show you something else to kind of, this presentation is a little bit shorter, but it's every bit as important. One day, several years ago, and I think it was in 2015, I read this in what was known as the Ensign at that time. And this story just grabbed me by the nape of my neck. This man, Ryan Kelly, he had been going through a box of pictures. And he said when he picked up this picture, it was like looking in the mirror. This young man looked so much like him. And he thought, who is this? Well, he asked around in his family, and he was told that that would have been one of his great uncles. And he was shot down in World War II. And that was really all that was known about him. He was about 20 years old. He never married and he never had a family. And so he was in that box of pictures, and Ryan Kelly had never really heard of him or anything like that. And he wanted to know more about him. Well, he was able to locate the squadron that this young man, Jerry, had been in. And he located people in that squadron who were still alive. And he met with them and talked with them. And he was able to write his story just from what he learned from the people who were with him, because there was nobody else to tell his story. He had no wife. He had no posterity, which, by the way, this is in the 2015 Ensign, or it would be Leahona now. So I thought about that, because in my family, I have me and my husband, and I have Peter and Harmony and Jordan and Eric, and then each of them have children. However, our oldest child passed away in 2009. He was 30, he never married, and he never had children. All it takes is 3 generations for someone to be forgotten. Judy Russell gave an excellent presentation on the 3 generations at Roots Tech several years ago, and it was based on a magazine article that somebody had written about how people are forgotten in just 3 generations. So, will my children tell their children about their Uncle Peter that they've never ever met? Will they tell them about us? To expand that a little bit further, this is my husband's family, and there are 11 children in that family, and I married the best one. So then you have our family as one of the many that, I think when my in-laws died, they had like 48 grandchildren or something like that. However, now some of those have passed. 4 of the 11 have passed. In just 3 generations, will my grandchildren know about their Uncle Bill, their Uncle Steve, their Uncle David, their Aunt Gay? Will they know about them? My children knew every one, except for the oldest. They knew every one of their aunts and uncles. But will they tell their children about them? All it takes is 3 generations. I want my posterity to know me, but I also want them to know me through me, not through my kids. No, we're not going there. I want them to know me through me. You can upload different things to FamilySearch, but there are things that are not allowed to be uploaded, and this can be found on the FamilySearch site. And sometimes when I show this, non-members will say, wait a minute, you can't show people kissing? No, no. We all know what could happen with that, where people just all of a sudden make something beautiful into something vulgar, and just no, you can't do some of those things. So my job is that when my grandchildren touch my hand, they are touching history. They are touching their connection to all of those people that I just showed you, and even the ones before. So my job is to keep their memories alive so that my grandchildren will know who I'm talking about. I recently gave my children a fan chart from FamilySearch. And on there, I I printed it off. I went to UPS and I printed it off. I think it cost for 11 by 17. It cost 97 cents for a color one. And I went to Walmart and I bought a frame and it was $3.97. So for under $5, I had a framed wall chart. And when I gave that to them, I said, now I don't want you to just hang this up on your wall and say, thanks, Mom, that's really nice. I want you to know these people. And I said, look at these two women here. They were a mother-daughter midwife tag team in Eastern Kentucky who delivered a lot of the babies over there. This is one of your grandparents who was known as the meanest person who ever lived. You want to know why? Because when his fourth child died, then, let me try that again. When his wife died, he had just had a baby and the third baby died. So he is now a single parent in the 1880s with 3 children. And there's no social systems to help him out. And he became very bitter. You see this one right here? They moved the family into central Utah from Denmark. And they no sooner got there than he got gored by a bull and died. And you see this here? This was his wife. Before they left Denmark, 2 of their children died on the streets of Copenhagen. They went to Hull, England, then across to Liverpool, and then into Castle Garden, where they were able to get a Conestoga wagon. They made it to Omaha, where they walked the rest of the way with a handcart. And one day when she was nursing a baby, the baby just died. Didn't cough. It wasn't sick. It just died. So my purpose in showing these to my children was to show them that your ancestors have gone through hard times and you have gone through hard times. And if they can make it, so can you, because you come from really good stock. So that's why I am their connection to their family's history. And they need to make sure that they know about their families because they were good families. They love hearing me. Because I make these people become real to them. So that is kind of homework for you so that you can also think about the things that you can add to FamilySearch and the stories told with your voice that you can add and the things that only you have that you could maybe take a picture of and add that to FamilySearch. So with that, Don, we are finished.
All right. I'm unmuting and good. That's another wonderful presentation. Peggy, oh gosh, you just loaded us up today with so many good things to think about and to do.
I've loaded you up. Well, I think that some of these things, you don't want families going to war when somebody dies.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're going to go to war because they want that. And dad told me I could have that. He told me that 10 years ago. Well, I never heard him say it. It happens.
Yeah, but if you could
Rayanne, you have a comment.
Who has a comment?
Rayanne does.
Rayanne.
Hi, Rayanne.
Rayanne just wanted to say, hey, Peggy, that was fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, and I think it gets our minds to thinking as to all the stuff that we can put on there, the people that we can tag in those photos, and, they're going to be preserved. And that's what I want. I want my dad's Navy uniform preserved because I can't believe he was ever that small to get into it.
Yeah, that's a problem with it.
I know.
Yeah, my old Navy uniform's long gone, but I couldn't fit into it now. Yeah.
Well, and you gave me an idea of what to do with my dad's Air Force uniforms that are hanging in the closet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have my dad's hanging there too. And I'm like, someday nobody will want these, but the pictures of them are preserved.
Yeah, the artifacts. But what do you do with the actual uniform? What are you gonna do with that?
I don't know if anybody in my family will want them. I don't know. However, when I was in Maine, I have 2 grandchildren up there that were adopted into another family. And I was talking with my 15-year-old grandson, and he is the only one who is attending any type of a church.
Uh-huh.
And he has lots of questions. He's reading the Old Testament. I said, "Are you serious? Most people don't start out reading the Old Testament. That's
Yeah.
hard." He goes, "Do you and Grandpa read?" And I said, "Yes, we do." And he said, "Do you understand it?" And I said, "There are parts that are difficult, but yes." I said, "As a matter of fact, Grandpa and I used to teach the Old Testament and the New Testament. We taught it for 5 years." I said, "If you have any questions, then you feel free to ask us." And then I said, "You know what? As a matter of fact, when we drove to Maine, we had just left our church meeting, and I still had my scriptures in my bag in the back of the car." I said, "Let me show you something." So I got out my scriptures, which of course it's a quad and it's going to be thicker than anything he has.
Yeah.
And I said, "Let me show you what I do." And I began to show him when I make notes in the margins, or if I put a Post-it note in there telling about the historical things that were going on during this time in history, things that maybe I've had an impression on, that a window was open and I thought of something, and maybe that window is only open for a short time.
Yeah.
And he said, this is, I've never seen anything like this." And I said, "This is my workbook. It's literally a scriptural workbook." So that, and I said, "My children do not go to church. And of all of the grandchildren, you're the only one. I don't know who will get this. I don't know. My sisters all want it, but they're in their 80s. You just,
Yeah.
you stay there." But
Yeah.
I have a grandson that is looking at me like, could maybe I have it? I said,
Yeah.
"Well, we're going to see. We're going to see." So,
Yeah.
just something like that, that I don't know that my children would want it, but somebody is expressing an interest in that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
You know what I
Um,
thought of? Oh, Peggy, you
Go
know what I thought of is writing. I have some grandkids that are active and some that aren't active in church at the moment, but hard times come and you have challenges. And when Chuck and I got married, my mom was a member, and my dad wasn't. And I know my dad wasn't thrilled that I decided to get married in DC. And I need to write that down because, I only had a few people I told my parents I was getting married in DC and they were not thrilled, and I didn't have too many people in there, but I probably need to write that down because we had the Hawks from your ward and we had your parents as witnesses, and those were the only witnesses we had in there. So I was in there with people I'd met a week before the wedding, and that was it.
Yeah, you
So-
got to write that.
Yeah,
Well,
I really do.
I came across a bunch of little tiny journals that both of my parents kept, and I have transcribed all of them, and I put them up onto FamilySearch and tagged people. And if there was an item mentioned in there and I have it, I take a picture and add that, like I did the broom.
Uh-huh.
And my mother vividly describes her wedding day, about when her father, a day before, had taken her to town to buy her a blue and white dress, and how her soon-to-be new sisters-in-law were furious that she got a new dress because they thought my dad bought it.
Well,
So
because she's getting married, though. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And on the day of their marriage, they had some friends that went with them to a nearby town to the Justice of the Peace. And my dad was out fixing the car, making sure that it would run well. It was February.
Yeah.
And while he was under the car, battery acid spilled into his eyes.
Ooh.
And so they rinsed it out. They got his eyes back good, but the entire day they watered. So they are standing in front of the Justice of the Peace, and he's just mopping his face, and the man is saying, "Son, it's not going to be that bad."
That's a great story.
It is. And my mom and my dad both wrote their versions of it. And I wrote down the day that it happened in 1932. And then the day in 1977 that they wrote about it. This is from a journal written likely in 1977.
Yeah.
So that's a recall date clear back to 1932.
Wow.
I did that and I thought, oh my goodness, I've got a picture of all of these events in my head because
Yeah.
of the way that they described them.
Yeah, well, I definitely need to write this down now. You've
Yeah.
definitely,
I noticed that several of your ancestors were from Denmark. You're familiar with the Scandinavian Jubilee album? Do you know what that is? The Scandinavian Jubilee album?
I don't think I do.
It was published 50 years, well, 49 years after the Saints came. My great grandfather Rastus Snow was in Denmark, one of the first missionaries there. All the pictures and write-ups and are in that in the Scandinavian Jubilee album, and there's PDFs of it now on both the church website and on Internet Archive, and you can download the whole thing. They've got a great copy that's from the Bancroft Library in the University of California. All the pictures of all those people are in there. Those old, like the one that you showed, that's in there, and a little write-ups about all of them. So undoubtedly, some of your ancestors are mentioned in that.
Well,
Yeah.
the more that I look around my house, the more things that I think I can add. That I mainly focused on, pictures and
Mhm.
stories and documents and things like that. But I'm just thinking there's a lot of stuff that would still completely tell their story.
Yes,
You know,
right.
I just someday when I see these people, I don't just want to go up and say, I know your birth date and your death date.
Yeah,
I want to know, I want to be able to talk to them
yeah,
about what I've learned about their lives.
yeah,
Because
right.
if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have who I have today and what I have.
Yeah.
No, but
You-
the story in the inside in 2015, that is the one that spurred me.
That started at you.
Yeah, because this young man he just died at age 20 with nobody to really tell his story.
Yeah,
So I thought, I've got that same thing. So their story deserves to be told too.
yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Your presentation today is a great lead in for my class in 10 days. I still do Zoom classes for DV-TAG. I've got this one that's coming up is called Documenting Your Own Life.
There you go.
And but you've carried it the next step. I'm going to talk about where you find the documents and the fact that a marriage certificate is not the primary source, but the license is, and you can get a copy of that. And you showed birth certificates that are
Yeah.
online, where sometimes you can find birth certificates now without even paying for them, and so on that. But you've gone the next step and saying, put this stuff on memories
Mm.
so that it'll be available to everybody else.
Yeah, and on my own page on FamilySearch, then I have gone around and I took pictures of all of the places where I have lived.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I did that because one of the houses has been torn down and the other one, I grew up in a log cabin and it caught fire last year. But I still have the picture
You
of
have
it.
the picture of the original.
And the same thing with my husband. He grew up in Southern California. We went to every house, every church, every school that he attended that
Yeah.
was important in his life. And we've uploaded those to his page as well.
Yeah,
But
that's wonderful.
and it's just something that, if we don't do it, we're going to wish that we had done it someday.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody asked me the other day, well, I keep an audio journal every night. Only takes me about 5 or so minutes to dictate into an audio journal. Somebody said the other day, well, what are you going to do with all that? Well, I said, my kids are going to want it for one thing. But it reminded me of my mom. I tried to record her. Tape recorders had just come out a few years before she died. So I said, Mom, let's tape record some stories. Oh, who'd be interested in my stories? Oh, man.
I know.
I
Gosh,
said the same thing.
yeah. Yeah.
I understand, but like I said, I'd give anything to hear my parents' voice again or my
Yeah, oh,
son.
gosh.
And
Yeah.
and I know when my mother-in-law died, it was all that my father-in-law could do to erase her message on the answering machine. It was on there, I think, up until he died a year and a half later. He just could not
Yeah.
bring himself to do it because he got to hear her again.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I've got to make sure that my voice is heard as well.
yes, right. Well, you could record
Don,
off
we
that.
have some comments online on
Oh,
Facebook.
do we? What do we got? Ask questions or what?
Sharon, who is also from Maine, by the way, and wrote, making family members come to life is the right way to keep their memories alive. Well
yeah.
done.
Oh, good, good, good.
Thank you.
And Rodney was still there, and he has said, wonderful class, great ideas that I'm going to start doing. He also shared an experience, which gives you a good reason to another reason to do something like Dropbox or otherwise. He said, I made the mistake of keeping all my memories on an external hard drive. It crashed. At great expense, I was able to recover about 90% of them. Now I keep memories on several different mediums.
Good for him. Yeah.
Dropbox is one of mine. I think you should always have probably 3 backups of what you have.
Yeah.
And but also keeping them on Dropbox, I was able to bring them right up and show my grandson certain things like that. So, I had it right there with me.
By the way, this class is also a good introductory thing, Don, for a class we're hoping to get in the first couple of months of next year. FamilySearch has been working on a way to share memories in small groups like families and friends.
Yeah, even of living people.
Of being able to do that very easily. And they are hoping to be in beta test with that by the end of the year. And so we're one of the developers has presented to us before, and our group may be able to get on beta test type stuff with that to expand your sharing memories of living individuals.
Yeah, so that you could have a family group, and you could put living people in their living stories, and they could all of them could access it. Yeah.
Well, I am grateful for all of the ways that we have to preserve this stuff, because when my parents' house burned up, it took a lot of stuff with it.
Yeah.
But and they lived in a log cabin. My dad had gone to Kentucky to do research and came back, and the only thing that was standing was the front wall and the front door.
Oh my.
So I went through the house with him, and I got a crowbar because I just picked it up. Right behind the front door was all of his genealogy, and none of it was taken.
Really?
It had scorch marks, and a couple of things had some, like watermarks around it, where they'd put out the fire. But all of his genealogy was preserved. Well, we continued to go through the house, and he had a chest of drawers that was like 7 drawers high. The bottom 4 were burned, but the top 3, it's like they had sealed shut. So I had my crowbar and I opened it up. It was all of his underwear. And I said, Dad, what in the world are we going to do? He goes, as long as I've got my genealogy and my underwear and the clothes I took with me to Kentucky, I can go to Sears. I can go to Kmart. I can start over again. It's not the end of the world. I'm like, bless his heart. He had the 2 most important things.
Yeah.
His underwear and his genealogy. That's all you need.
Right.
The rest you can get anywhere. But here he is at 79 years old, having to start over. So.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, well, this Maui fire, out here in Utah, a house burns down, and the first thing you hear them say is, oh, all the pictures and all the genealogy all gone. But what you point out is, if you put it up on memories, make it available, it's available.
And then lots of people have it.
Yes.
That's
and
important.
It's not lost. Yep. Gerhard, anything else? Any other comments or questions?
That's it.
Okay, that's wonderful then. It's probably 12 or after.
Thank you, Peggy. It was great.
Absolutely. It's fun to be with you all.
Well, we'll have to have you back again, Peggy. You're always a fount of knowledge for us and help, and we appreciate you.
Well, you just reach out anytime you need something. I'm happy to do it.
Good, I will, Peggy.
Thanks.
I know you. All right.
All right. For the rest of you, those of you who are with us, this is the Utah Valley Technology and Genealogy Group. This has been our class taught by Peggy Clemens Lauritzen, and she's been talking about memory keepers. And it's been recorded so that it'll be available online on both Facebook for at least a couple of months, but then on our YouTube channel after that. So, and if you're a member of our group of the Utah Valley Technology and Genealogy Group, then you'll be able to watch the videos. There's over 600 videos that we have now of past presentations and classes that are available on there. Our website is uvtag.org, uvtagg.org. And there's a link on there if you want to get a free copy of our newsletter, sample copy, just sign up on there. And we have a blog that we send out the press releases every week, every month. You can sign up on those. With that, we'll sign off for today. We have our next meeting on the second Saturday of what's next month? October. And we have Robert Raymond scheduled as our speaker on that Saturday. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you later.